Hi everyone, and welcome to the Princeton Review's webinar, How We Can Help You Ace Your Finals. I know that is probably a hot button topic this evening, since we are smack in the middle of final season, and so we hope that a lot of the information we have to share with you this evening will be extremely helpful. Two things I wanted to share with you before we officially get started. The first is that all of your lines are muted and will be muted for the duration of tonight's session. If you do have any questions or anything that you'd like to share, you can just go ahead and chat us in the question chat box that you have on your GoToWebinar control panel. And we will do our best at the end of the session to answer as many questions as we can that have come in. Second is that this session will be recorded. So if you don't feel like taking notes and you just want to sit back and listen to all of the helpful information that we are about to share with you, that is A-OK with us. We will be able to send you the link to this recording by email within 24 hours after the session. So just keep an eye out on your inboxes sometime around tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon, and that link shall appear. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's webinar session, How We Can Help You Ace Your Finals. One thing I wanted to share was where your presenters are coming from. And so my name is Anna, and I am with the National Marketing Team from the Princeton Review, and I am located on the lovely aisle that is Long Island, New York. And my good friend Brian Culbreth, who I'll introduce in just a moment, hails from the great state of North Carolina. And so we are coming to you from the East Coast. For those of you that are on the East Coast, probably we're neighbors, and we welcome all of you from all around the country. So I just want to take a minute to introduce Brian and give you a little bit about his background. So Brian Culbreth is actually our Vice President of School-Based Sales, heading up our school-based sales program. He has actually been in the education field for over 20 years and with the Princeton Review for 10 years now. He's a good friend of mine, and I know that you will certainly enjoy hearing from him this evening. And so I happily pass along the microphone to my friend Brian to get us started on tonight's session. Brian, would you please take it away?
Thank you, Anna, for that great introduction, and I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. And basically, I know it's taken some time out of your evening, and what we want to tackle tonight is kind of a couple things. And one of the things is we want to talk about how important are grades and what are some of the impacts of college admissions, and then really get into talking about ways that we can help, as in help you ace those upcoming finals exams, and then wrap it up with some question and answers at the end. But we would like to start, I want to give you guys a heads up that we want to be an interactive session. So we're going to have some polling questions that we're going to have throughout that we'd like you guys to respond to. And so we're going to start with our first one. And my first question for you guys, and the poll question is, how important are grades when we look at this? So when we look at this, how important are grades? I know it's a simple question. And so here's the poll. What do you think is most important in the college admissions process? Grades, strength of curriculum, or standardized test scores? Let that poll stay open for a little bit. It looks like pretty split. The group's pretty split. So we're looking at the polls come in about 32% of you guys say standardized test scores are the most important. We got 32% saying the strength of curriculum is most important, and 37% of you are saying that grades are most important. And for you guys who said that your grades are the most important, that is the correct answer. Even though it sounds like a silly question, the answer is absolutely yes. The grades are the most important piece when it comes to the college admissions process. And there's a couple different surveys that prove that. Princeton Review does a ton of surveys each year with high school students that are in the college admissions officers as well. And the number one aspect that most colleges look at is your high school legacy, your high school GPA, then followed up by how well did you challenge yourself, followed up by test scores. Another survey I want to share with you guys is this survey is from NACAC. NACAC basically is the National Association of College Admissions Counselors, and this is from their admissions trend survey. And what colleges are saying, the most important factor in the college admissions process are grades, followed by did you challenge yourself in that curriculum? Did you push yourself into some harder classes? Followed by standardized test scores. So yes, grades are most important. And now that we know they're important, let's talk about ways that we can start shaping those. Because here's the real thing we want to talk about is how can we help you ace your upcoming finals, ace upcoming exams? There's several different ways we can do that because there's several factors that impact you. We want to talk about what those factors are and then how we can actually help you with that as well. So if we look at that, let's talk about the very first thing. Do you have a good understanding of the concepts that you're working on? Our students today have many quick ways they can get an answer online. You can type in almost any question online into some type of service, into some type of search engine, and get an answer to almost any question that you have. The challenge is, do you really understand what that answer actually is? So that's one of the biggest challenges, not just knowing an answer, but having that background understanding of the concept so you can do it and get the answer tonight, but more importantly, down the road in a couple of weeks or a month when you're taking those final exams. So when you work with our tutors begin each session by assessing the student's need, prior knowledge, and exploring ways to build on your foundation to help you understand and be able to reach mastery of that concept. What our tutors actually do is use leading questions, what some people call the Socratic method. And we'll bring in examples to demonstrate key concepts. But if you're coming to just get an answer, our tutors are not going to provide just an answer for you. The tutors are going to work with you to build that concept, lead you into questions, bring in some examples so you can be able to do that work. So that's the number one piece, is building a solid understanding of the concept. The second thing we're going to talk about, and we're going to tie in kind of a history lesson into this, which is also going to launch another poll question for you. And homework is the canary in the coal mine. So we're going to launch another poll question. And here's your question. How did coal miners use canaries? Help them identify where coal deposits were found, improve work morale, keep miners awake, or help them detect dangers? Give you guys a little time to respond to that. So for a few more seconds. All right, so it looks like we got the categories that received some votes. One was improved work morale, which was about 5% of the attendees. We had about 25% say it helps them identify where coal deposits were found, and 71% of you guys said it helps the miners detect dangers. And that is absolutely correct. So basically what miners would do is take canaries into the coal mine tunnels, and the main purpose is to identify buildup of some dangerous gases. When those gases would build up, unfortunately those canaries would die first, which would be a sign to the coal miners that there was danger so they could get out quickly. That practice was actually used up until 30 years ago. Even with all of our technology advances, it was just replaced about 30 years ago. But that saying, canary in the coal mine, homework is the same thing. That the best way to ensure that you're going to do well in exams down the road and ace those exams is you have to have better grades now, have a better understanding of the material before you reach finals. So if we talk about the tutors that we work with you in our homework help, our tutors address very specific learning goals that you bring into the tutoring session. And then basically we jump in and provide help to you as you need it when you're getting to that point where you're getting stumped and needing to get to the next step. When students connect to a tutor to review a challenging problem, what our tutors do, we help you understand that problem today, so whenever you get to that right answer, you have that understanding, so whenever you see it in a couple of weeks on the final, you are able to also perform that same problem and perform that concept on the exam in a couple of weeks as well. So the next thing that we're going to look at to help you ace the finals is being able to manage stress. And we know that is a tough thing to do. And we're going to kick this off with another polling question as well. And here's your question. What do you think stresses students out the most? It's based on a survey that we do with students. Is it peer pressure, relationships, homework, family, standardized test scores? Let's stay open for a few more seconds. We had a range of answers. All right, so if we look at the responses for this question, what we're seeing is 10% of you guys said that peer pressure stresses students out the most. 19% of you said homework, 14% family, and 57% standardized tests. From the survey, from students' perspective, the thing that creates the most stress and falls in at 56% of the time, it's homework provides the most stress based on student feedback. Now, we know stress absolutely impedes the learning process. And where stress builds up in that homework process is when we know a lot of students today are engaged in multiple extracurricular activities, volunteer opportunities, working. The workloads that they have with work from school typically mount up as they're trying to catch up later in the evening. And what tends to happen is students run into a specific concept or problem that they have a hard time with. It either hinders progress to finish the rest of that assignment or assignments in other areas. It also impacts them, even if they choose to skip that, it can still impact their learning as they try to focus on other things. The flip side from the parent perspective, and maybe some of you guys are parents who are joining us can relate, I have 2 teenage daughters and qualified to help in some areas, not so much in other areas, but sometimes when they're needing help, then as a parent, sometimes your child doesn't want you to see them struggle, or we try to teach what they would consider an old school way or teach like we like to learn, which creates some stress between the parent and the student. And one of the ways you can manage that stress is when you run into that situation with our homework help program, we find that you're having access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You would have access to over 3,000 subject matter experts in over 40 high school subjects, allows an outlet for stress relief for the student, but also a stress relief for the parent. Our tutors are available for students when and how they prefer to connect. That is basically anytime, anywhere, from any device, basically. And then one of the other things that we'll dive into when you're talking about being successful in acing your finals, it simply comes down to confidence. Confidence is a crucial component in being in learning. And our tutors that you work with, our tutors are trained not only to recognize and celebrate student successes throughout the learning process, but also build confidence in motivating students to persevere through those harder problems. These are all things that are basically non-cognitive skills that are critical to student success, and we address all of those things. So if we really talk about a couple of key components in being able to ace those finals, one is got to have the basic knowledge, background knowledge of those concepts. 2, you have to have confidence. You got to be able to understand what that daily work is, be able to manage their stress levels. And now the last thing that we look at is this is where students tend to show some need and build stress levels as well, is getting help in the aspects of getting essay help. That is one of the things that tend to be a challenge for some students, whether it be just needing some brainstorming to help with the thesis, map out some ideas, or is it as simple as getting some grammar review to make sure you're not making silly mistakes where things get turned into a grade. Essay help, we provide essay help whether live or a drop-off options, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So now we kind of talked about some ways to help eliminate some stress, help do some aspects for confidence building, background knowledge, to help get ready to ace those exams. We'll talk a bit more about how our homework help program works. And we've been doing this for a little while. And here's our next poll question. Our next poll question is, the Princeton Review in our homework help program is the trusted leader in our online tutoring. I'm going to give you guys the poll question is, how many tutoring sessions do you think we've delivered so far? 1 million, 5 million, 8 million, over 14 million sessions. We'll leave it open for just a few more seconds. All right. We see a mixture of answers. So we see 23% of you guys say that we've delivered 5 million tutoring sessions thus far. 27% say 8 million. 50% say over 14 million. You guys who chose over 14 million is correct. At this point, we have delivered over 14 million tutoring sessions. We actually started back in 1999, and we're the trusted leader. We open to students across the country. We work with school districts, libraries, military, dividing all types of programs and services for delivering the tutoring sessions. Now, with those sessions, I want to talk a little bit more about how the program is set up and how it actually works. So the first thing we want to look at is the program itself. Our homework help program is a fully web-based service. It runs entirely in your browser. There's nothing that you need to download. There's nothing you need to install. There's no plugins that are required, no special hardware or software. Whether you have a PC, a Mac, an iPhone, an Android, a desktop, a phone, a tablet, it doesn't matter. If you have a web browser and it's connected to the internet, you can use it to connect with a tutor with our homework help program. Now, we'll tell you we also offer native apps for Apple operating systems, iOS and Androids. It literally is the most convenient way to connect to a tutor. If you're using it from your phone, you can literally take a picture of a problem, upload it into the session through the app, and be connected to a tutor, as simple as that. Now, there are several ways that we work with you and how you can get a tutor. And when you look at that, we know every student is different, and students need different subject matter experts in different areas, and we offer you a wide range of ways to connect. The first one and our most popular one is get a tutor. And literally, you can connect to a tutor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 361 days out of the year. The average wait time to connect you to a live tutor is 40 seconds. That is the most popular way, because usually if you're in between practices, in between activities, you can pull up, connect to a tutor in a car via your phone. Or if you're working at home on that problem or library at school, you get stuck, you can instantly connect to that tutor. Now, with that, you can also bookmark some of your favorite tutors in that Get a Tutor session, and basically you can find out when they're online and connect to them directly. And whenever you're waiting to connect to a tutor, you don't incur any charges. The only time there's any pay, you only pay for the time spent in the tutoring session, not waiting to connect to a tutor. The second option is schedule a session. You basically can pick a tutor and time and schedule it. You basically can go on our website. You can browse tutor profiles, which include photos, background information on the tutor, and reviews from students, because at the end of each tutoring session, We ask students to review that session with the tutor, and it's multiple questions, and it's on a 5-star rating scale. From all of our sessions delivered, our average rating across the board is 4.6, which is outstanding on a 5-point scale. For the schedule a session, you literally can pick a tutor, find out and schedule a time with them, and you have to schedule either a 30-minute or a 60-minute block of your choosing, and then we will send a reminder to you before that session. And once they launch this, you can launch that session directly from your Homework Help account when the time is scheduled. We also offer a drop-off essay review option, and this is a very popular option for students who are looking for essay feedback. You can do essay feedback in a live session, but you can also do a drop-off. And how that basically works is you log into your account. You can go into and upload your essay, whether it's a Word document, a PDF, or what have you, and you have to answer some questions about what the assignment was or what the prompt was. And within 24 hours, a tutor will review that offline and provide feedback back to you that you can come back and download from your account. What that feedback will include, it will include inline comments and track changes notes on the student's paper. It'll also come with what we call a summary feedback form. Basically, this will include the analysis of the paper strengths and weaknesses, and also some suggestions on how to improve it before handing that paper in the credit. Now, when it comes to reviewing that essay, how that works from your account, we basically charge you for the time spent reviewing that essay. The maximum amount of time that would be spent is charged is 50 minutes. Most of them are reviewed in less time. It'll depend on the length of the assignment, the prompt, but no more than 50 minutes, but most of the time it's less than that. A fourth way that you can get help through our Homework Help program is diagnostic quizzes. Basically, this is an option if you're looking at trying to review some content, looking ahead at some things. You literally can come in and launch some quizzes. They're only typically about 15 or 25 questions, and it's basically intended to give you an idea on specific concepts that you may need help with from a tutor. You can take a quiz at any time. They're scored automatically, and then it tells you which questions you got incorrect, and then from there, you literally can connect to a tutor instantly to start reviewing, discussing those missed questions and those underlying concepts. No matter which option the student chooses to connect, here's one of the best things about the program. Every engagement is automatically archived. So if you just connected with a tutor, if you did schedule a session or you did the drop-off essay, that entire interaction is recorded and archived, and you can come back and replay that full session at any time you want, as long as that account is active and you're still doing tutoring sessions. Anything that's happened in the past, you can constantly go back and review those over and over. Now that we've talked about some different ways to get the help, we'll talk about which subjects are covered in the help. Obviously, the Homework Help program gives you as a student immediate access to an expert tutor in any of the core subject areas, whether it be math, whether it be science, social studies, English, language arts. We even actually get into over 25 AP subject areas. These are all areas you can get homework in immediately. And there are 3. If English is a second language for a lot of students, and Spanish is a primary language that's spoken at home, we also deliver math, science, and social studies in Espanol, and you can choose that language whenever you are requesting the tutor, if it needs to be in English or in Spanish. But we basically can help in all of these areas, and then foreign language is limited to Spanish, French, and German. So let's talk about what the classroom looks like. So when you log on to this web-based program, what you will actually see is you'll see an online classroom, and when you're working with a tutor, it is always a one-to-one. This tutor is only working with you the entire time you're working in the session. They're not splitting their time between other people. They get your full undivided attention, whether it's an on-demand session or a scheduled one. Now, again, this runs right in your web browser, nothing to download, nothing to install. As you can see, there's an instant messaging platform similar to what you would see in most other type of programs, Facebook chat or WhatsApp, something of that nature. You will see a lot of communication is going to go through the chat feature. Now, we also supplement the instant messaging tool with a voice chat feature. And that's tied specifically to when working with students working with foreign language subjects. Students can talk to the computer via microphone like they're using Skype, or they can call into a conference number with a conference pin just like you would with a Join Me app or a GoToMeeting app. We also make the voice chat feature available in all subjects as an accommodation for visually impaired students. But most of our students, their preferred feature is chat, and that's how most of the interaction is going to take place, other than what we're going to talk about next, which is the shared whiteboard. So if we look at the shared whiteboard, behind the chat window here, there's going to be a shared interactive whiteboard. This is where the student can draw, upload pictures, add graph paper, import files from their computer. Could be pictures from their phone, could be pictures of a chalkboard, a problem, etc. Same thing as the teacher pulls resources in. Everything one party does, the tutor or the student, is visible to both parties. It's a great place for a collaborative session. Everything can be shared. Students can even import things. And we tie in a lot of resources to make the sessions more efficient. We actually can tie in where if you can pull in a text box and type in a question or something. You can pull in most used math formulas from a drop-down box. You can pull in often used subjects or objects from science content, from math content, all quick and easy, kind of drag and drop. Everything that is included in this session, anything that's uploaded, pictures, again, is all recorded and archived when you go back to rewatch that session at a later date. Now, what I also wanted to show you was if you chose to get essay help within a live session, this is what it would look like. Basically, we would use the whiteboard as a file sharing application tool. So for example, if I want to get help with a writing assignment, we would send it over to the tutor along with the whiteboard. As what you would see is as the notes are being made, it's real time. You can see the tutor making notes on the side and also your feedback back to the tutor. There'll be highlights, lines within the document itself. And then all of this again is recorded, saved, archived to come back and review. And this is, you can do it live, or again, you can do the drop-off essay component as well. The next slide I want to show you is specifically to other subjects. So in this case, the other cool thing that we can do with the whiteboard space is basically shared web browsing. In this example, this tutor has brought in a map of colonial America into a social studies session. But there's all types of different applications that we can serve. Our tutors already have a list of resources they can pull from for different subject areas. If a teacher has a specific website the student can share, we can pull up that website to pull through additional practice problems, instructional videos, reference those tools, any of those things. There's basically an endless amount of high-quality materials that our tutors can add into the whiteboard to enrich the tutoring session itself. So I showed you a couple of different ways of what the platform would look like. The next thing that I want to show you is what it really looks like in action. So let's say if you were a student and you did a tutoring session last week, and with that tutoring session, you now want to come back and review it, and you have an exam tomorrow or Friday, and you just want to double check and review this concept that you struggled with. You literally can come in and launch this program, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the session itself, and this is what you would see. And what you're going to see here is on the right, this is going to replay everything from the beginning. So you'll see some initial conversation from the instructor and from you as the student, and you'll see there'll start being some leading questions that pop up and trying to figure out what the real issue is to see how far we have to dig back into something, to how far to go back to give that basic understanding. There are some tools I want to point out to you as you see some of the text popping up. On the top, you'll see a tool action here, and you'll see a 1. That means basically during this tutoring session, we only use one whiteboard. If you need to run out of room, there's an endless number of whiteboards you can have for a lengthy assignment, multiple problems. The whiteboard can have as many whiteboards as you use in that initial session. Obviously, basic features of play and pause, restart, but obviously sometimes you want to get back to one specific thing you were confused on to see how that tutor helped you understand it. You can go back and watch the assignment at 1 time the speed, 2 times the speed, 5 times the speed. And again, if you incorporate any tools or pull anything in, everything is going to be archived in here. And what we'll see shortly, this entire tutoring session lasts a little over 16 minutes. And based on getting some clarity from the tutor and the 2D and the student, then the tutor is going to pull a resource in, because what they're dealing with here is trying to understand some difference between rotations, translations, but those will pop up in just a second. And then what we will see again is if you're really trying to get through, you can watch at different speeds. And what you can see here, as the students needing some help with understanding between rotation, reflections, and translations, the tutor is able to pull up a quick resource to be able to look at that to help understand the difference between the different things, rotations, reflections, and translations. And based on the feedback, the tutor may decide to add some more information, or the student can even write feedback on here as well. Again, it's both completely interactive, back and forth. Anything the student writes, the tutor can see, and vice versa. And this is, again, once the session is completed, this is all archived, and you can go back and review it and watch it as many times as you like. So this is one of those quick things I just wanted to show you. And now, the one thing that's going to come up next is, where do our tutors come from? Because I'm glad you asked. So if we talk about where our tutors come from, we only deal very specifically with the best of the best content experts in the country. And when we look at that, if we have a person who's interested in tutoring for us, the very first thing they have to do is complete a lengthy and very difficult subject-specific exam for a subject that they want to tutor in. Of all of the people who start at that point and they complete that subject exam, only 7% of the applicants make it past the first step. And then if they master that quiz on the subject exam, then the next thing they do, they move to the next step where they work with one of our screeners, and they have to do a mock tutoring session. They have to be able to show us that each applicant is comfortable using an online classroom interface, delivering academic support virtually, and can actually teach those concepts. A quarter of those applicants make it past that component. After that, then we will go into doing background checks, independent background, criminal background, and educational checks. All of that checks out. They're able to start delivering some tutoring sessions for us. Of the people who initially apply to become a tutor, only about 1.5% get onboarded to start delivering sessions. When they start delivering sessions is when they start entering the mentor program. They're assigned one of our senior tutors. They're basically coaching them, giving professional development feedback. They're automatically reviewing their student surveys at the end of each session, and adjustments are made and development is continued in that process as they start tutoring throughout. Now, of our tutors, basically 92% of our tutors that work for us are in North America. About 8% are from the rest of the world, which help cover some of the 24/7 hours that we offer. And if we look at specifics by the numbers in what we do with our homework help program, basically we help a little over 5,000 students each night with homework help. Of those students, 56% tell us that the homework is the primary source of stress for them. 96% of those students that we work with report better grades, higher confidence, work completion. 96% of those students would also recommend us to a friend. And again, we've already delivered, we're the industry leader. We've already delivered over 14 million sessions. And our most rated tutor has delivered over almost 9,300 sessions and has gotten 9,300 reviews and literally has a 5-star rating. And we have a lot of confidence in this. So we are so confident, we actually offer you a guarantee. And we are confident that your hard work plus our expert tutors will improve your grades, that we guarantee that if you work with our tutors for at least 2 hours a month for 3 consecutive months, you will see improvement in the grade in that subject that we're helping you with, or we'll give you your money back. And that would be 100% of your money back, which is up to $240. And so what we invite you to do is a couple things. Number one, take advantage of a free trial that we have. You can sign up for a 30-day free trial and get up to 60 minutes of free homework help. And to let you know, our average session length is a little over 23 and a half minutes for the students who use the service across the country. Obviously, some less, some more, depending on the program. Normal cost for a program for an hour a month, it's basically $39.99 for an hour. For 2 hours a month, it's $79.99 a month. For 3 hours a month, it's $114.99. That's very competitive, in most cases less expensive than a local tutor. You have access 24/7, and more importantly, you actually have a recording of every one of those sessions you can go back and review at any time. So I'm going to turn this back over to Anna to kind of do a wrap-up, and we'll do a Q&A. And Anna, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, Brian, thank you so much for all of that really helpful information about our homework help programs and how they can certainly help students prepare for and ace their finals. I did want to propose one last poll question. Just if anyone is interested in learning more about our homework help programs and having one of our advisors get in touch with you directly to give you some more information about that, please go ahead and just click yes. If you're not interested, that's totally cool. We just want to make sure that we can help those of you that are interested. So just go ahead and take a moment to submit your answers there. And for those of you that have said yes, we'll go ahead and get someone to contact you right away. And I'll just let you guys have few more seconds to answer that. Great. And then we're going to go right into questions with Mr. Brian Culbreth. Okay, so thank you for those of you that have answered. We will have someone get in touch with you as soon as possible. Okay, and then one more last thing that I wanted to just point out before we get into the questions. After tonight, if you do have any questions that come up or anything else that you would like to talk to us about, you can go ahead and just take down the email address at questions@review.com and just send us anything and everything, and we'll be happy to assist you in any way that we can. And so, Brian, some questions that we were getting in this evening. Could you tell us a little bit more about where the tutors are from? Are they from the U.S.? Are they foreign? Could you give us a little bit more information on that?
Great question. Our tutors, 90% of those are from North America, most being a concentration in the U.S., smaller percentage from Canada, and about 8% are from across the globe, which helps cover some of the 24/7-hour tutorials.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Someone also asked if you could just go over the pricing again, just so they could jot that down one more time. Maybe you could just go through exactly the subscription monthly costs.
All right, so if we look at the monthly cost, you can do 1 hour a month, which that month for 1 hour is $39.99. 2 hours a month is $79.99, and then 3 hours a month is $114.99. And again, the average session is a little over 23 and a half minutes is what we see students do across the country, or the length of a live session.
Great. Thank you for that. And along, sort of connected to the pricing question, could you explain exactly how does the essay drop-off work, and if that service is included in the monthly price? Does it take up minutes of your time? Exactly how that would work for students.
And another good question. So when it comes to the drop-off essay, that does come out of whatever the monthly subscription that you have. And literally, it's reviewed offline by a live tutor, and you get all the feedback on it. And you're billed for whatever time that they take to spend to review it. There is a cap of 50 minutes, regardless of how long it actually takes them. But oftentimes, they do it in less time than 50 minutes, depending on the length and the actual assignment of the essay.
Excellent. A question in regards to accessing their accounts. Will I be able to access the tutoring whiteboard on a mobile device, example, a tablet or maybe even a phone?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you will be able to access the whiteboard via any device. That is correct. Whether it be a tablet, whether it be a phone, yes.
Great. I also have an admissions-related question that came in to us from the beginning. So we started out talking about grades and how important grades are in the college admissions process. And then we were able to see that the schools definitely held grades as one of the top factors in their admissions decisions. And so that question from our fellow audience member is really about what GPA is recommended if I'm planning to apply to an Ivy League college, and would those schools look at an unweighted or a weighted GPA? Would you be able to talk to that?
The advice I would give, which is a great question on the overall admissions, those rules of engagement for colleges tend to change from year to year and sometimes from college to college. My advice would be is the colleges you're interested in, those Ivy League schools, to contact the admissions office directly and ask that question, because you would get the best answer and almost a different answer from almost a different campus.
Great, thank you. And it looks like, okay, so let's see here. A couple more questions are coming last minute, so I'll see if I can squeeze them in before we need to part ways for this evening. Question, Brian, are you able to recommend any study habits or techniques that are more engaging than traditional studying?
Repeat that question again, Ann, I'm sorry.
Sure. Are you able to recommend any study habits or techniques that are more engaging than traditional studying? I don't know if you have any tips that you might be able to share.
A great question, because honestly that answer is going to vary for each student, because everybody has a different learning style. Like as a preference, as a student growing up, I did better when I had soft music playing in the background. My parents, like, no, it has to be totally quiet. If you put me in a totally quiet environment, I would not be able to study. I would be the kid in the library making all the noise, preventing people who liked a quiet environment to be able to study. So if you have a child who says, yes, this is the way I like to learn best, then take the approach that show me you can make it work. If they can produce good grades and with soft music playing in the background, great. If not, then maybe we need to change that environment. It also goes to a very set structured place. Some students may perform better sitting in a very structured environment at a desk. Another student may learn better if they're sitting back, stretched out on the floor or the bed. Got to figure out what works best. And then when it comes to techniques, there's different types of methods, whether it be outlining, a Cornell note-taking method, among others. You got to play and figure out of all those different pieces which one works best, and there's a different answer for different students. And it also comes to the time of day when you study. Some people's biological rhythms, they're more alert right after school. They're more alert later in the evening time. If you can identify which areas produce the best results, you try to mimic those. Try to focus the study times where appropriate in those areas. That's a trial and error process for each student.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much, Brian. We're going to just do take one more question for this evening. And for those of you that have submitted some questions that we might not be able to answer fully this evening, we will be able to answer you by email. So do not worry, you will get your answers. And so the last question for this evening, Brian, if a student were to sign up for the free trial, would they be able to use the essay drop-off? Could you just explain exactly how the free trial works and what they would have access to?
Yes, with the free trial, they would have up to 60 minutes in 30 days, whether that's in a live session, or if they dropped off an essay and someone reviewed it and spent 30 minutes on it, that would deduct from that 60-minute trial.
Great. So they would have full access to all of the benefits of working with our tutors through our homework help program, is what you're saying.
That is correct.
Wonderful. All right. Well, that is it for tonight's session. I do want to just say thank you again for all of you that have attended. Thank you to my awesome presenter, Mr. Brian Culbreth, for helping us out this evening. I appreciate it so much. Please remember, we will be sending you a recording of this session sometime by tomorrow evening in your email, so keep an eye on your inbox. And if you do have any questions after we leave you tonight, please go ahead and send those to questions@review.com, and we will do our best to get you answers as quickly as possible. So thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your evening.